Hi everyone, welcome back to my next video. Today I personally have a real treat. I have an old and dear friend. Silvianne and I met at the very first RTR, and I think that was 2012.
2011, January of 2011, yep.
And you have been to most of them.
I was figuring it out last night. I think I've been to like 10 out of the 15.
10 out of the 15, wow.
Yes, I wasn't in a van then. I was living in Sticks and Bricks, and I came out in my little Saturn wagon.
Right, all right, I do remember that too. I remember your Saturn wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us your story a little, your nomadic story.
I decided in November of 2010, I was sick with a cold. I picked an astrology book off the shelf. It said, I love to travel. I thought, I haven't ever traveled. I don't have any money. And I said, I'm going to sell my house and go live in a van. And it took, I thought it was going to happen immediately. It took 3 to 4 years. You know, I had lots of time to go through stuff and get rid of it. I was living in New Mexico. And then in 2013, I went on the road in a big old 1990 Ford E350 high top.
And I know the story, of course. So how did that work out?
Well, I loved it. I thought God sent me the smallest thing I would have been willing to live in at that time. When I saw it, I thought, oh no. When I went to see it in person, I'd seen it on Craigslist. I thought, it is way bigger and way older than, am I really going to buy this thing? And I kept putting money into it. I know when you buy a used car, you only paid $5,000 for it.
It's inevitable.
But I kept thinking I'd hit the plateau. I never hit the plateau. I had a spreadsheet. I stopped counting at $35,000.
Yeah.
I could have had a brand new whatever.
You sure could have.
But, you know, I didn't. And then in 2020, with COVID, I got real sick. I was living with a friend, sharing a house, could barely afford it. And we lost our lease. They didn't renew it because they had to move back into it. The economy was so bad they couldn't. It was a young couple. They were trying to buy something of their own that was bigger, and they couldn't. So I said, you know, I can maybe get a living in a house, or I can travel. And I had bought the minivan. I traded in the big van when I was in Arkansas. I didn't think I was going back on the road, but I thought, you know, if I had you, I could live in that van.
You sure could.
And then last spring, it was like, okay, I think it's time.
So this time it's more of being semi-forced into it, although your heart always calls for the road. Exactly.
And I know from my own life, I believe I'm protected. If I really wanted to live in a house, I would have somehow manifested that. But I really don't want to. The truth is, I love being a nomad.
So let's go ahead and take a look at your no-build build.
Okay. So this is my, it's a Coleman camping cot, the El Cheapo one.
Mm-hmm. I think I have that exact cot right now.
And then it was one of those Milliard trifold foam mattresses. This is the third one I've owned. I love them. I had one in the big van. I had to chop off an end of it. I bought it used, so I only paid $50 for something. It was a $100 item, and they're so comfortable. I really love them. And I left the jump seat up, so that's my office. You can see I have books piled on it. This is my weakness. So when I use the office, I just pile the books over there, and at night I just pile the books back here. But I got this. It's a Charcuterie Board, and it just goes right there. And my laptop sits on it, and it's really a more comfortable seat than I had in my house.
And of course, you know, I've known you a long time, and so the colors are fantastic. It's gorgeous.
I have to admit that the bedspread is sort of just to make me happy, because I had my blue Yetti cooler from the old van.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted something to tide all the colors in, so I actually bought that new off of Etsy. Despite all the, you know, all the textiles I own, that was a bit of an indulgence, but it makes me happy.
Is this long enough? Or
yes, I just fit.
Just fit.
What I learned about myself in van life is I don't care how narrow the thing is. When I was sleeping in a house and I had a double bed, I slept on one side of it. We have a traveling companion.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, she gets the whole front seat. She does not ride in the bed. She rides under my bed. But as soon as we stop, she loves it up here. And then her litter box.
And, well, let's look at the back then.
All righty then.
Because you have that set up really, really nice, too.
Yes, I'm very proud of my kitchen. I want to do a photo essay book on people in their vans, because when you live in such a small space, you see what people value. They may tell you they value one thing, but you see what they actually value about what they have space. So you can tell for me it was books. I have 5 bags of books in there. And then food. I really like to cook. You know, I'm not someone who's just going to live on ramen noodles. Nothing wrong with that. It just isn't me. So I had this 3-door spice rack in my house, in the kitchen, and I was convinced I was going to get it in here, but he told me, that's crazy. It's a minivan. You can't do it. And I'm a bit of a tea addict. So this is my tea caddy. The stove and the camp table, they get stowed right in here.
Oh, yeah.
Right, both fit there. And then some of the propane fits underneath here.
So you have a Coleman 2-burner. You do live cooking when you have a 2-burner.
I do.
Yeah.
You know, and actually when I was in the big van, I always wanted a 3-burner. That was my dream, you know, but of course that never happened. This is my bathtub. You know, people always ask, how do you take a shower? Especially women. It's the first thing they ask. And I have a theory. I think people are either bath people or shower people. I am not a shower people. Even in a house, I never take a shower. I take a bath. So I would rather take a sponge bath in this than a shower. So I make do with, you know, baby wipes and whatever. And then, you know, once or twice a week, I heat up some water on the stove and just do a sponge bath in the, you know, with the tub. So this is my bathroom. This was I had this in the house. It had art supplies in it. This is the bucket that I bought to mop my floors with in the house. I got some pine pellets, you know, toilet paper, my pee towel for the middle of the night when I'm using the pee jar, and extra plastic bags. Everything that I have in here that came from the big van makes me happy because it's just kind of a reminder of that life. And I didn't have to buy anything. I had this for my kitchen already. And then the Bluetti, the 100-watt panel just stores right here and it gets bungeed in.
We didn't even say, what kind of van is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a Chrysler Town Country minivan, the queen of minivans, which they don't make anymore. But I found it on a used car lot. It had, you know how, this was when I was in Arkansas in 2022, and you know how used cars were hard to come by. It had gotten the lot the day before.
And you were in the house and weren't even thinking about it.
I wasn't. It was just my backup. I always have to have in the back of my mind, if things really went south, I could live in that van, you know?
You know, and that's what I think is one of the very best things about being a nomad. You'll never be homeless because you can always find a home where you can live in. And then having that, you know, there's always going to be food available to some degree.
Of something. It doesn't take that much food to feed one person.
It really doesn't.
I go to, you know, a lot of trouble, but that's just because I enjoy it. Yeah. But you don't have to. One thing I love about these minivans is there's space all over the place. Like the bed is up against the console in the back, but then there's all this extra space. Right. Again, I had this in my bathroom in the house, and I was so thrilled that it fit in there perfectly. So I have, you know, I keep like my phone and my headlamp at night, so it's right there. I didn't have all this wonderful USB rechargeable fans with lights in my first iteration in the big van, so I'm really feeling like I'm fancy. And then this is the Bluetti, the AC50B. The newer one that you did a review on. I saw the review right about the time I was thinking of all this. And so I bought it. I got 100 off because it was new. And then my water has to go here. This is I don't really have enough water at this point because that's how much determines how long you can stay out here and not have to drive to town. I have the 3 gallons, the 1 gallon. I've got another 1 gallon over there. I bought a Coleman collapsible, but I haven't filled it up yet because I can't think of where to put it. But if I was really desperate, I could just, you know, throw it on the bed and that's it.
Well, you know, your experience shows you've made it fit super well, and you're obviously a true minimalist. You have about the minimum amount of stuff in here.
You know, actually, I don't think I am a minimalist. There's a lot of stuff under that bed. I didn't show you all the clothes and but yeah, I like clothes, I like books, I like food. So I spent, I've taken up a lot more space with that stuff than I had to. My life would be a little bit easier. I do have to kind of reach under the bed for my clothes. I mean, I think minimalism is great for those who are minimalists. And I do have a storage. You know, from the earlier years, I refused to get a storage thing. I thought it was ridiculous. I knew so many people that spent hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars over 10, 12 years, and then they went and just dumped all the stuff anyway. So in the first incarnation, I didn't have a storage, but I didn't really need to because I had such a big van. This time I said, it's mainly the family. I have a lot of family photos and papers and things from my lineage. And my books. I have 20 boxes of books in storage. The rest of it's all getting a free ride. And I'm paying $75 a month. And my goal is next summer when I go home. I consider North Carolina my home now, my spiritual home. I'm going to deal with it. I don't want to pay that forever.
Right.
But for now, it was worth it. I could really, except for the books and the papers, I could ditch everything in there and not, it wouldn't break my heart.
And so you are also working a little bit on the road. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm 69. You'd think I'd be retired, but I get Social Security. I get $1,300 a month in Social Security. I could not live in a house in that. I mean, there's just, it was even sharing a house with a friend, and we got a fairly decent rent. But, and then I studied astrology with a man named Daniel Giamario, and it's called Totem's Turning of the Ages Mystery School. We have we have literally people all over the globe who study with us. So I run Zoom meetings for my teacher and, do monthly members call and that kind of thing. So I knew that was going to be a bit of a stressor this time around, because before I would do occasional readings, and I do readings. I'm an astrologer. But this time I have to have a reliable signal and enough power that I know I can charge my laptop and, run the phone as a hotspot. So far it's been okay. There's lots of cheap or free places you can stay in the mountains, which is what I love to do, camp in the mountains. The cat and I are happiest when we're doing that, but there's no signal. So so I am getting that much money, and you'd think I'd be able to live on it.
No, maybe 10 years ago you could possibly think about it, but those days are gone.
I remember when I first came on the road, I wasn't old enough to get Social Security. So I was working. I got jobs, here in Quartzsite in the winter, and I did camp hosting in the summers. And I thought, wow, I didn't really do this as a retirement plan. I hadn't really been thinking ahead, but I said, given my lifestyle choices, this is probably the only retirement plan. And I thought, wow, $1,300 a month. Well, I think it was $1,100 then. I can live like a queen in a van. And now I'm struggling to do it even in a van.
Right.
I mean, I buy organic food. I do spend more money on groceries than most people do. But still,
So you do readings, and if people are interested in your astrology and joining your group or even getting a reading, how can they reach you?
My email is Silvianne K at yahoo.com. So that's, I'm sure you'll put it in the link. But it's, my name with my middle initial K. And then I have an Instagram, which is Cosmic Caravanserai.
Well, Silvianne, I am so glad to see you again, and I'm glad that you're happy on the road, and you've lived a good life in the sticks and bricks, and now you're back kind of where your heart belongs, and wherever you go, your heart belongs there. So good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Bob. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of this. You know that when in November 10th of 2010, when I decided to do this, God sent me right to your site. I always say I'm the least practical person I know who lives in a van, but I'm really good at learning from from other people, and researching. So that's all you really need, It
really is. Well, Silvianne, thank you so much for sharing your home and your life with us. I just really appreciate it. I know people are inspired. And so everyone go check out her Instagram and follow her life, and maybe set up an appointment and get a reading. She's done a reading for me a couple of times, and it was excellent, really, really excellent. So I strongly encourage you to do so. So folks, if you got anything out of this video, and I know you did, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you on the next video. See you then.
Bye.